Welcome back to All Things Soggy Bunz,
Mm-hmm.
the podcast where we explore the tastiest trends, and dig into those culinary secrets behind your favorite comfort foods.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. And speaking of comfort food today, we're going to take it up a notch. We're talking comfort food, but with a smoky grilled twist.
Yeah, that's right. We're going way beyond your usual pot roast or mac and cheese. We're diving into this world where stews are simmering over smoldering wood chips.
Okay.
And even lasagna gets a little kiss of smoke.
Okay, let's unpack this. I love a good burger from Soggy Bunz,
Right.
but smoky comfort food, that's a whole new level of deliciousness.
It is.
And the inspiration for our deep dive today comes from Toby and Ola,
Oh,
who are sharing some seriously mouth-watering recipes on their website.
I've seen them.
They got everything from smoked stews to cheesy dips and even some incredible desserts, all cooked on the grill or smoker.
What I think is really fascinating here is the way that Toby and Ola, they really understand the heart of comfort food.
Right.
It's not just about, specific dishes. It's about that feeling of warmth and satisfaction and maybe even a little bit of nostalgia.
Huh.
And they found a way to capture that feeling using those unique flavors and techniques of grilling and smoking.
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't love the smell of something delicious cooking over an open fire?
Oh, yeah.
It just adds this whole other dimension to the experience.
It does.
And I love how they're not afraid to experiment with classic recipes.
Uh-huh.
Like their smoked taco vincogen, but smoky.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
It's brilliant, really. They've taken a traditionally braised dish
Right.
and infused it with this smoky depth that completely transforms the flavor profile.
Wow.
And they've done that with a whole range of dishes: beef stew, chili, even mac and cheese.
Right.
They're really pushing the boundaries of what comfort food can be.
Yeah, and for our listeners that haven't experienced the magic of Soggy Bunz yet, it's a Maryland-based food truck and catering service that's putting a gourmet spin on classic comfort food. And guess what? They got their own take on some of these smoky grilled dishes. So if you're in the Maryland area and you're looking for a taste of something truly special, head over to soggybunz.com. That's B-U-N-Z with a Z, and check out their menu.
Now let's get back to the recipes. One of the things that really stood out to me was Toby and Ola's approach to smoked stews.
Okay.
They've got this smoked beef short rib stew that just sounds incredible.
Oh, yeah, short ribs are perfect for smoking. We have this amazing marbling that just melts in your mouth after a slow smoke.
Exactly. And Toby and Ola really emphasize the importance of choosing the right cut of meat for smoking.
Okay.
They recommend bone-in short ribs for their stew because the bone adds even more flavor to the broth.
And here's where it gets really interesting. They also talk about the wood you use for smoking. For this particular stew, they recommend using hickory or pecan wood for a more robust, smoky flavor that complements the richness of the beef.
It's those little details that really make a difference. And they don't stop there. They even suggest adding a touch of smoked paprika to the stew for an extra layer of smokiness.
Wow. I'm already drooling. And I love how they're not just giving us recipes, they're teaching us the why behind the choices.
Right.
It's like having a masterclass in smoky comfort food right here in our ears.
And the learning doesn't stop with beef stew.
Okay.
They've also got a smoked coq au vin, which, as we mentioned earlier, takes this classic French dish to a whole new level.
I'm picturing those tender chicken pieces infused of smoky flavor.
Yes.
And braised in red wine.
And here's a pro tip from Toby and Ola. They recommend smoking the chicken over fruit wood, like apple or cherry, to create a slightly sweeter smoke that balances the richness of the wine sauce.
That's a great tip. I never would have thought of using fruit wood for chicken.
It's all about understanding those nuances of flavor.
Right.
And how different types of wood can complement different ingredients.
Okay, so we got smoky beef stew, smoky coq au vin. What other stews are in their culinary arsenal?
Well, they also have a smoked chuck roast stew with red wine braise. That sounds absolutely divine. Chuck roast is another great cut for smoking because it has a good amount of fat that renders down during cooking,
Okay.
adding tons of flavor and moisture.
And I bet that red wine braise takes on a whole new dimension with the smokiness infused into the meat.
Absolutely. And they recommend using a dry, full-bodied red wine like Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot for
Okay.
this particular recipe.
So now I'm officially starving.
Yeah.
We've covered some amazing stews. What's next on this smoky comfort food journey?
Well, we can't talk about comfort food without talking about chili,
Yeah.
right? And Toby and Ola have a whole section dedicated to smoky chili recipes.
Let's dive into that chili pot. I'm ready for some serious smoky spice.
All right, so let's spice things up a bit with Toby and Ola's chili creations.
Okay,
First up, we have the classic, their authentic Texas chili recipe.
Texas chili. All right, I'm always up for a bold flavor adventure, but remind me what makes Texas chili authentic.
Well, for one thing, there's absolutely no beans allowed.
Oh,
It's all about the meat, usually beef, and a symphony of spices.
okay.
Toby and Ola use a blend of chili powder, cumin oregano, and a touch of cayenne pepper to give their chili that signature Texas kick.
And I'm guessing the smoky element takes this chili to a whole other level.
You guessed it. They slow smoke the beef chuck roast over pecan wood for several hours before adding it to the chili pot. This infuses the meat with this incredible smoky depth that permeates the entire dish.
I can almost smell it now.
Yeah.
And I love how they use pecan wood for this chili.
Uh-huh.
It has a subtle sweetness
Right.
that I bet pairs perfectly with the richness of the beef and the spices.
Exactly. And here's another tip from Toby and Ola. They recommend browning the meat before smoking it to add another layer of flavor.
Okay.
It's all about those extra steps that make their recipes truly exceptional.
Okay, so we've got a beanless, smoky Texas-style chili. What other chili variations do they have up their sleeve?
Well, for those who like to use up leftovers creatively, they've got a smoked brisket chili that sounds absolutely divine.
Smoked brisket and chili. Now, that's a combination I can get behind. Brisket is already so flavorful and tender,
Right.
and I can only imagine how amazing it tastes after a slow smoke.
Exactly. And Toby and Ola recommend using leftover brisket from their smoked beef brisket recipe for this chili. They say the smoky flavor of the brisket really shines through in the chili and adds a whole new dimension of complexity.
And I bet it makes the chili extra hearty and satisfying, too.
Yeah.
I'm all about using up those delicious leftovers in creative ways. What kind of wood did they recommend for smoking the brisket?
They suggest using oak or hickory for the brisket, as these woods have a strong, smoky flavor that complements the beef beautifully, and they emphasize the importance of letting the brisket rest for at least 30 minutes after smoking
Oh, okay.
to allow the juices to redistribute, resulting in a more tender and flavorful chili.
It's all about those little details that make a big difference. It sounds like they've really thought of everything.
They have, and we can't forget about their green chalet turkey chili, a recipe inspired by Toby's family heritage.
Ooh, green child turkey chili. That sounds like a delicious departure from the traditional.
Yeah.
What makes this chili unique?
Well, this chili features ground turkey as the star of the show, simmered in a vibrant green child sauce. It's a lighter, slightly tangy chili with a bit of heat from the green childs.
And of course, they give it their signature smoky twist.
Of course.
What kind of wood do they recommend for this one?
For this chili, they recommend using a milder wood like apple or cherry wood, as these woods won't overpower the delicate flavors of the turkey and green childs.
Smart. They're really showing us how to tailor the smoking process to different ingredients and flavor profiles. This is making me seriously hungry. I'm ready to move on to something cheesy and comforting. What do Toby and Ola have in store for us in that department?
Get ready for some cheesy goodness because they've got a whole section dedicated to cheesy comfort food recipes that have been given the smoky treatment.
Okay, let's talk cheesy comfort food. I'm ready for some serious melty goodness.
Well, first up, we have a classic with a smoky twist, smoked tri-tip mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, but smoked. I'm picturing that creamy, cheesy goodness with a hint of smoky flavor. It sounds absolutely irresistible. Tell me more.
It's a true game changer. They start by smoking the tri-tip over hickory wood until it's perfectly tender and infused with smoky flavor. Then they shred the meat and fold it into a creamy, cheesy sauce made with sharp cheddar Gruyere and a touch of smoked Gouda.
Wow, they really thought of everything with that cheese blend. I bet that smoked Gouda adds an extra layer of smokiness that really ties it all together.
Absolutely, and they bake the whole thing in a cast iron skillet until it's bubbly and golden brown.
Okay, we need to pause for a second. I just have to remind our listeners that if they're in Maryland and looking for some seriously delicious comfort food with a smoky twist, they need to check out Soggy Bunz. They've got their own take on some of these amazing recipes, and trust me, they are out of this world.
Totally agree. You can find them at soggybunz.com. That's B-U-N-Z with a Z.
Don't miss out.
Don't miss out.
All right, back to the cheesy goodness. So we've got smoked mac and cheese. What else is on the menu?
Well, prepare to be amazed. They've even got a smoked lasagna recipe.
Hold on, smoked lasagna. I'm intrigued, but I'm also having a hard time wrapping my head around it. How does that even work?
It's surprisingly simple, but incredibly effective. They layer their lasagna noodles, a rich meat sauce, and a blend of ricotta mozzarella and Parmesan cheese in a cast iron skillet. Then they place the skillet on the smoker and let it cook low and slow until the lasagna is bubbly and the cheese is melted and slightly browned.
Wow. I never would have thought to smoke lasagna, but it actually makes sense. The smoke would infuse all those layers with flavor. And I bet the cheese gets this amazing, smoky, slightly caramelized crust.
Exactly. And they recommend using a mild wood like apple or cherry for this recipe to avoid overpowering the delicate flavors of the lasagna.
Okay, I'm officially adding smoked lasagna to my culinary bucket list. What other cheesy creations have they come up with?
Well, for a fun and flavorful appetizer, they have a smoked sausage and hatch chili beer cheese dip. It's the perfect combination of spicy, cheesy, and smoky goodness.
Ooh, that sounds like the perfect dip for a party or game day. What kind of sausage do they use?
They recommend using a spicy smoked sausage like andouille or kielbasa for this dip. They smoke the sausage for about an hour to enhance the smoky flavor before slicing it and adding it to a creamy beer cheese sauce made with sharp cheddar cream cheese and a touch of your favorite beer.
And I bet the Hatchchilds add a nice kick of heat to balance out the richness of the cheese and sausage.
They do, and they recommend roasting the Hatchchilds before adding them to the dip to bring out their sweetness and smoky flavor.
Okay, we've covered some seriously delicious cheesy dishes. Is there anything else in this cheesy comfort food haven that we need to explore?
Well, for a more elegant appetizer, they have grilled baked brie with wine and thyme.
Grilled baked brie. That sounds simple yet sophisticated. What's their secret to grilled brie perfection?
They start by scoring the top of a wheel of brie cheese and then drizzling it with a mixture of dry white wine and honey. Then they sprinkle it with fresh thyme leaves and place it on the grill over indirect heat. They let the brie cook until it's warm and gooey and the top is slightly caramelized.
I bet the combination of the melty brie, the sweet honey, and the fragrant thyme is absolutely heavenly. And the smokiness from the grill probably adds a whole other dimension of flavor.
Absolutely. It's a simple yet impressive appetizer that's perfect for any occasion.
Okay, we've explored some incredible stews, chili, and cheesy dishes, all with Toby and Ola's signature smoky twist. But what about the sides? I'm thinking we need some delicious accompaniments to round out this smoky comfort food feast.
You read my mind. They've got a whole section dedicated to sides and salads that are perfect for pairing with their smoky creations. Let's dig in.
Okay, so we've got those main dishes, the appetizers, those are all covered. But you know what's missing?
Dessert.
Exactly. No comfort food feast is complete without something sweet to finish it off.
Right.
What kind of smoky, sweet treats do Toby and Ola have in store for us?
Well, for a classic comfort food dessert with a smoky twist,
Okay.
they have a recipe for grilled apple crisp.
Mmm.
They toss sliced apples with cinnamon and sugar and a touch of nutmeg,
Uh-huh.
and then pile them into a cast iron skillet.
Okay.
Then they top the apples with a buttery oat crumble and place the skillet on the grill over indirect heat.
Oh, I can just imagine the smell of that apple crisp cooking on the grill.
Yeah.
The sweet apples, the warm spices, and that little hint of smoke. It sounds absolutely heavenly.
It is, and they recommend using a mild wood like apple or cherry for this dessert
Okay?
to complement the sweetness of the apples.
That makes sense. You wouldn't want a strong, smoky flavor to overpower the delicate flavors of the apple crisp. What else have they got on the dessert menu?
Well, for the ultimate chocolate indulgence, they have a recipe for skillet brownies on the grill.
Ooh.
They make this rich, fudgy brownie batter and bake it in a cat iron skillet right on the grill. The result is a brownie that's slightly smoky, incredibly moist, and packed with chocolate flavor.
Ooh, I love brownies. And the idea of adding a touch of smokiness to them sounds amazing. What kind of wood do they recommend for this one?
They suggest using a mild wood like pecan or hickory for the brownies. They also recommend adding a pinch of smoked sea salt to the brownie batter
Okay.
to enhance that smoky flavor.
Smoked sea salt and brownies. Okay, that's next level. I'm definitely trying that.
It's a game changer.
Well, I think we've officially covered it all, from smoky stews and chilies to cheesy dips and decadent desserts, all with those amazing tips and techniques from Toby and Ola. I'm feeling incredibly inspired to fire up the grill and get cooking.
Me too, and I love how Toby and Ola have shown us that comfort food doesn't have to be boring or predictable. With a little creativity and a touch of smoke, you can elevate those classic dishes to a whole new level of deliciousness.
Absolutely. And for our listeners who are lucky enough to be in Maryland, I have to remind you once again to check out Soggy Bunz. They're serving up some of these incredible smoky comfort food creations, and trust me, you don't want to miss out. You can find them online at soggybunz.com. That's B-U-N-Z with a Z.
So go forth and get smoky, experiment with different flavors, try new techniques, and discover your own smoky comfort food masterpieces.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of smoky comfort food.
And until next time, happy grilling and happy eating.
Thank you for listening to the All Things Soggy Bunz podcast.